What's up, everybody? Just wanted to talk today about the book that really changed a lot for me, The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. Now, this is the first book in the Wheel of Time series, first published in 1990. It's Jordan's fantasy epic that kind of introduces us to this majestic world. The world building and everything in here is just amazing. With the masterful world building that he has in here, the compelling characters, and just the action and adventure, he kind of sets this up as a fantasy epic. He establishes The Eye of the World as a instant classic in my mind. So Robert Jordan's really known for his world building, and that's on full display here in The Eye of the World. The way he just describes the landscape, the cultures, the politics, the magic system, the character interactions, everything is just so good. The way he describes like the bustling cities and just the down to the wardrobe and everything, it just kind of shows how meticulous he was in his world building. And what I really like about that is how immersed the readers can get in the book, because you really feel like you're in this world. When you read about the two rivers, you're really going to feel like, oh wow, you're in that village. When you get to Camelin, when you get to Baerlon, when all the different places, you're going to be like, wow, I'm there. He's so descriptive. Another thing he's really good at is just the list of characters. So by the time you make it to the end of the 14 books, I mean, it's an ungodly amount of characters, but just in this first book, you get introduced to the main protagonist, Rand, Mat, Perrin, Egwene, Nynaeve, Moiraine, Lan, Tom, and we'll kind of go into all those characters, but the way it kind of starts off and gives you this quick introduction and then right into some action, then back to some world building, the way he kind of paces this book, I'm a big fan. Some people have said it kind of gets a little slow after the beginning portion. I disagree, because it's such a massive work that he's undertaken here that there has to be a lot of world building. You get introduced to the Aes Sedai right off the bat with Moiraine, and you don't really know, okay, are these people good? Are they bad? You can tell she's wise. She seems like she's trying to help, but up front you're not really sure. Everybody from his village, they kind of don't believe in any of that kind of magic or different things, because being so segregated out in the mountains, they kind of haven't seen all this kind of stuff. So hearing about these monsters, Trollocs, stuff like that, they just haven't really heard of. They've heard of Aes Sedai, they know they're real, but you don't see Aes Sedai in the Two Rivers. And then you kind of get to meet Rand, Mat, and Perrin all kind of together, and you see the differences between all of them, but you can already tell like all three are going to be important. Mat with his mischievous activities, Perrin, he's like a super fiercely loyal to the people he loves, and then Rand, he's one of the main protagonists as well. The plot of the first book is really good. He writes a lot of these books where it can be a standalone novel. Of course, you don't want to read just one, but just the story on its own is compelling. And the tapestry of characters and the way he intertwines all these threads. And it kind of follows that basic tale of like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings. And that makes sense, since Robert Jordan was a big Tolkien fan. It starts off in the small village with just the young kids, innocent kids, and then it quickly spirals into this grand adventure. What I like about it too is how Robert Jordan can kind of balance evenly this tons of action and adventure, and then he slows it down into the quieter dialogue parts. You're learning about the characters, you're learning about the land, you're learning about the wardrobe of the land, you're learning about the laws and the cultures of the land. And before you get too bored, it jumps right back into more action. So the pacing is really good in my opinion. So with that being said, it kind of lets us know that the epic scope of this book is really what kind of sets it apart. He takes us to multiple continents, multiple cultures, and he just threads it all together so expertly. I really think Robert Jordan was a master of his stylistic expression. His prose is evocative and immersive. The way he just kind of goes back and forth, just so meticulous, describing everything, but doing it in a way that is still compelling. Another thing that I really like is the dialogue, how authentic it is. I read a lot of fantasy, and one thing that really loses me is when dialogue seems like it's there just to push the plot forward, or it's not really authentic from what you've learned of the character. In this whole series of books, it just stays consistent. I mean, the character might grow, and so their demeanor and their conversation will change due to that growth, but it still stays consistent with the growth, and that's something that's really great about this whole series. I personally don't know how he even keeps track of everything. I mean, I could just picture in my mind Robert Jordan writing these books, and he just has hundreds of notebooks spread out on the floor, and he's trying to keep track of what this person was wearing, where they're from, what their name was, how it's pronounced, who their mother and father was. Because you go through these books and it's like, who the hell is this person? Who is this person? You could go back and cross-reference. I don't really have time for that, so I just go on and hope that I figure it out as it goes. But it's just massive, the amount of characters that are in this book, and it goes to show like how good Robert Jordan was at what he was doing here. So a quick conclusion: The Eye of the World is the entry into the Wheel of Time, and he really hits it with the gusto. He's coming at it with everything. If you don't get locked on the first book, don't waste your time with the rest of the series, because, I mean, this is what it's about. My personal favorite in the series is The Shadow Rising, but every book is good. People will talk about the hump at books 7, 8, 9, 6, 7, 8, wherever they want to put it. I think the way a lot of people have got to that is that they didn't read it like a lot of us did. We read it when it came out, so there was a good year or two gap between each book. So you were just ravenous for the next book to come out. Nowadays, people are buying all 14 books up front, and they just read them back to back to back. Yeah, it might seem like, oh, okay, yeah, this is getting a little repetitive at this point, but you got to think how it was originally. There were, between this book and the second book, I had read 5, 10 other books in between that space, so it was fresh to get to 2. Same with 3, 4, 5, etc., etc. But this book is just great, and it really just sets the stage for an incredible journey. I think any fans of epic fantasy will just be enthralled by this book, by just the sheer scope, the magnitude of it, the description of the world. You'll think that it's a real place. You want to go travel there. So that's my synopsis of the book. So if you want, we could go into kind of some spoiler sections. So now we know that there's the 3 boys at the beginning. They all are going to have the huge part. I, for one, could tell right off that Rand was the Dragon Reborn. I was hoping it was Matt. I'm assuming a lot of people were. I just think that would be awesome. His goofy ass somehow is tasked with saving the world. But, I mean, I love where they took it anyways. Perrin, thank God, was not the Dragon Reborn. He's my least favorite of the 3. And I do commend his devotion in a sense, but like you'll see later, the way he makes decisions based on Faile, it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of a pain. What I also love about this whole series is the ongoing inside joke kind of the every time one of them's talking to a girl and they're having trouble, they always say, Perrin would know how to deal with this, or Matt would know how to deal with this. They're so good with girls. And vice versa, the other ones are saying the same thing about the other character. And it wasn't just even with girls, it would be in different situations. They were always saying, man, Matt would know how to handle this. Perrin would know how to handle this. They don't get themselves in predicaments like this. So that's always a fun joke that's kind of going through the things. I remember reading this book when it first came out. I was about 16. It first was published in 1990, and I was not 16 then, but I got all of these books. Let me see. I was 16 in 1993, so I think this book and The Great Hunt were out, and I ordered them both at the same time. It was through those catalogs where you could get like a bunch of books for 99 cents, but you had to sign up to pay for books, and then you just never bought any more after that. So I got The Eye of the World and The Great Hunt at the same time. I'd never heard anything about it. I don't think I'd ever even read any fantasy. Maybe I had read the old Conan books, Arthur Conan Doyle, Conan. But as soon as I started reading this, I was just enthralled. I couldn't put it down. I read straight through it. Some of my characters on my PlayStation were named Rand al'Thor, all kinds of ridiculous nerdy shit that you would do back then. We didn't really have the internet. I think I first got the internet when I was 1997. I know it was out before that. I think that was the first time I got a computer and had the internet, and you used to watch the page would slowly load. See some words about whatever you were researching. But anyway, so I love this book. I love the entire series. I think Brandon Sanderson did a good job finishing it up. I've heard rumors that maybe he might be doing some more work on the series, introducing new things. So that would be cool. So next up will be a quick review on The Great Hunt.